Elizaveta Tuktamysheva lives in figure skating era after era. Another success, bronze in the final of the Russian Grand Prix in an incredibly fierce competition. What would she say to herself if she went back 10 years to the age of her current rivals? Here is an open letter from the world and European champion, G-Drive ambassador, to her 16-year-old self. I remember myself at the age of 16, 2013. I just won the Russian championship. I am preparing for the European championship. The body begins to change. I try to fight it, but not too successfully. I was the same as now, easygoing, cheerful. But 10 years ago, probably more frivolous. 16 years old is a wonderful age. I want to play sports and be with friends. This is the time of growing up, when you are still small, but you think, when will I become an adult? Then you felt youthful maximalism. I thought that I was an adult. There is an opinion on everything. Such a teenager with character, but not very heavy all the same. I was an obedient girl in some matters. The victory at the Russian Championship 2013 was very unexpected for me. I got sick and entered the free program with a temperature of 38. I didn't think about the places. When I skated the free program, I went to the podium to see my friends to watch the competition further. I didn't even realize at first that I had won. Complete shock. The goals were the highest: to go to the European Championship, to the world, and to perform well everywhere. But I didn't think globally. In principle, I don't remember such a moment that I had a long game. I didn't think I'd be riding in 10 years. I always go with the flow. There are tasks here and now. I stick to the plan that I have built for the season, month, week, day. There was no such task: to ride for a long time. But the thought of finishing then, of course, did not arise. One of the key moments in my career after an unsuccessful Olympic season, I broke my leg. There was a very strong reboot. I found a person, a massage therapist, who I needed at that moment. She mentally supported and inspired me. It was this reboot that allowed me to leave a mark on the history of figure skating. The second point: after the victories, I had 2 unsuccessful seasons in 2016 and 2017. I then almost lost faith in myself because I did not feel that there was uniqueness in me. And then I remember that I'm still Elizaveta Tuktamysheva, and I can't just give up. I began to learn the triple axel, began to do it stably. And now 2018, when I finally restored it, is the second key moment in my career. This is not yet despair, but then I understood that if something is not changed now, then I will come to it. And I didn't want to have serious thoughts about finishing. I always had the feeling that I can still do it, I can do it better, that this is not my limit. In the first situation too, there were no thoughts of quitting. Yes, I was worried that I didn't get to the Olympics in Sochi, but due to my youth and easy attitude to life, I didn't plunge into these wilds of despair so much. I believe that nothing just happens. I took advantage of such a moment in life to the maximum. I switched, rested. I never give up my life experience. Everything we go through makes us who we are now. There was never such a thing that I didn't work somewhere and the sport punished me. I always approached training very responsibly, almost never missed it. If I felt the strength to go, I always gave my best. It works the other way around for me. There's nothing that I did not work on, so there were bad results. But there were excessive expectations. If I worked very well, I expected that it would definitely benefit. And figure skating is not only about faster, higher, stronger, but also about concentration, about psychological readiness to start. Of course, this is a very difficult sport. You need to keep in good shape. But mental preparation plays a major role. Do you have an athlete inside or not? After all, a lot of talented skaters who cannot compete cleanly have not achieved what they could, being psychologically resistant to stressful situations. I let go of the situation, said, let it go as it goes. I allow myself to just enjoy. She relieved herself of responsibility and tension, and it began to work out. Here are my tips for my 16-year-old self. 1. Take it easy on the competition. At this age, you are still very worried. But over time, you will understand that you need to take the starts easier. Of course, this is an important part of life, but what you are experiencing will not benefit anyone. You need to calmly go out, reduce the degree of responsibility. Don't doubt yourself, don't doubt yourself. Your body knows and knows everything. Learn to trust it. I was told this even then, but you have to feel it. It will come with experience. 2. When something doesn't work out in training, don't dwell on it. Look less at others who work. You need to feel your body more, because everyone is different. Sometimes I thought that I was not working enough. I told the coaches that I needed more so that I could jump better, so that I could spin faster. But it can only hurt because you get out of your rhythm. Listen to yourself more, do not look at others and look for what helps you. 3. And another tip about nutrition. Rigid diets will never help you lose weight. At a young age, you do not realize this when you need to lose weight dramatically. Sometimes I needed to lose weight urgently. It happened that I was constantly on diets. We can say that there were problems with food. But on the contrary, you need to eat, you just need to learn not to overeat. Do not chase the ideal numbers on the scales, but try to find a comfortable shape for sports. When you come to harmony with food, with the way you look, everything will immediately go differently in your sport. Eating that you enjoy is very important. It will help you not be driven by weight. It makes life so easy. You will be able to invest so much more in training, which is even surprising. During puberty, I lived in permanent stress. You always need to watch your weight, watch how much you eat. If you overeat, you need to starve the next day. I understood that weight is important in figure skating. You can't get away from this, but you can't get away from your nature either. If I had not had an emotional disorder with food then perhaps such changes in the body would not have happened. It was also about the emotional component. How do you feel about food? In any case, growing up is not easy to survive. The body begins to take shape, becomes more feminine. Therefore, you need to be patient for 1 year, psychologically not to break. I got out of this after 2017 like this. I said to myself, who are they all that they can decide how I look, how to eat? This is not an appeal to a specific person, but rather an abstract one. In the end, I overcame it, gave myself freedom. You can eat whatever you want, just eat intuitively. This is the key to a healthy body. When the body gets what it needs, it is full, the vitamins are normal, you don't want extra sweets. Now I almost don't eat sweets, I don't like chocolate. And before, I really wanted sweets because it was forbidden. I got over it when I let go and took control of the food, haha. I became a predator, and she became my prey, and not vice versa. I became calmer and realized that it was not worth the stress and worries. I want to be a happy person. I allowed myself not to worry about it. As soon as I did this, the desire to eat everything immediately left. I wanted to eat, I cooked it, I didn't overeat, and so I got in good shape. Why have I been in sports for so long? Precisely because I have no problems with weight. I do not have this daily stress. The people around you play a huge role. Andriy Lazakin helped me a lot, who saved me for a long time, supported me, said that I was the best. I was lucky with the group, we have good guys. I was lucky that I have adequate and cool coaches. Alexei Nikolaevich Mishin approached this issue very reasonably. Tatyana Nikolaevna Prokofyeva always supported me. We decide everything together. They don't leave an athlete when he has problems. So it was with me. Therefore, I want to spend part of my life with them. I like it. I came to Alexei Nikolaevich when I was very young, at the age of 9. I didn't realize anything. I didn't even know who Miss Hin was. She only knew that this was Evgeny Plashenko's coach. This is the only information. I could not even imagine that life would turn out like this, that we would work together for so long. I feel that Alexei Nikolaevich treats me well, and I treat him extremely well. I always know that he will not leave me for the sake of another athlete. He works with me all the time, fully participates in my training process. He is interested in me becoming even better. I am very inspired by his desire to make the best version of me. I already think that I can't do anything, but Alexei Nikolaevich always says, "You can still do it, come on." He understands me well, he has an approach to me. Sometimes I think about something, and he already offers the same thing. I'm wondering, how does this even work? Why change something when everything is so comfortable and good? And Alexei Nikolaevich does not stand still, he develops as a coach, and I develop with him. This allows our entire group to move forward. Alexei Nikolaevich is very wise in terms of communication and very quick-witted. I may not like something, but he tries to smooth the corners. Of course, there are disagreements, but this is for 10 minutes, and then everything is in order. He has a balanced psyche, he does not allow himself to emotionally perceive those little things, because of which I can flare up. And this is cool, I have not yet learned this. In principle, I am not a very emotional and quick-tempered person, but there are such moments, and Alexei Nikolaevich takes the blows on himself. He is great. Over the years, you understand, you realize that this is your coach. About 6 years ago, I finally came to the conclusion that I did not need to change anything. The most important thing for an athlete is not to fade away, to constantly look for something new, to develop. And my group, Alexei Nikolaevich and Tatyana Prokofyeva, give me this. Coaches usually change if there are problems, misunderstandings. I didn't have that. Alexei Nikolaevich and Tatyana Nikolaevna complement each other. You can come to both for advice and talk. This is my family now. I would advise myself to be bolder then. I always doubt myself, so it's good that there is Alexei Nikolaevich, who says that I can do more. You have to be bolder, and then you can learn more. I felt how figure skating was changing. Just 10 years ago, we came after the season and gradually started with light training. And when figure skating began to develop dramatically, quads started, I had to change myself and understand that if you want to continue, you need to be more demanding of yourself and immediately start working to the maximum. The approach to technical training is changing. You will see high competition and understand. It means that it is possible to constantly jump triples, not to break. This has become the norm, and if you do not want to lose, then you need to make an effort. The more figure skating develops, the more you should develop. If I had known that it would turn out this way, I would have said to myself, learn quads now, it will come in handy later. It would have been useful even as a child at 12, when I learned the triple axel with my then childish courage to go into multi-turn jumps. I would already have taught the quad salchow, the quad toe loop, and maybe the quad lutz. Now it would be much easier for me. I wouldn't tell my 16-year-old self what I'm going to achieve. This can work in a good way, but it can also hurt. The expectation that you will do this can turn psychology around, can change everything not in your favor. I would leave everything as it is. I would still have the feeling that I can, and that's enough. Any situation can be turned in your favor, so you wouldn't even hint to yourself about future victories. But a 16-year-old would tell herself about the programs. We came to feminine images through a natural process I never transgressed through myself. When I try something new, it's a sincere desire. For example, to make the number toxic is my idea. There was no such thing as a goal. Here, this year I will do this. I will show what programs I can skate. This is also a part of me, so I did not adjust myself. If I skated something, it means that I feel comfortable in it. I will not skate images that I do not understand or for which I am not ready. I would not change anything in my programs over these 10 years. Everything has its time, they were all appropriate. I take the term mature female skating calmly. The main thing is that everything should be beautiful, at a level that touches the soul, so that the athlete understands what he is skating and can experience the emotions that are required of him in the program. I would call this term a meme, because sport is sport, and if there is a brilliant athlete, then he can skate mature programs even at a young age, no matter how old he is. I can't say that my style has changed. I just got to the point where I can show something more feminine, deeper. This is not a change of style, all this has always been in me. When you are ready to show it, then show it. In the meantime, this idea has not fallen into your hands, this music has not been offered, which means that you are simply not ready for this yet. It would be trite to say, react easier to criticism. But all the same, some comments should be treated condescendingly. You have a team, close people who can tell you. No need to get hung up on what they write on the internet, listen to your surroundings more. If there are sound comments, then try to listen. If they constantly say the same thing, then maybe something can be changed. But close people will always tell you where you have not done enough, where you can improve something. Listen to those you trust. Support and partners are important. There were not many of them, but now they appear. Previously, there was no such thing that I was offered contracts, but I refused. I always get offers from good sponsors. Now, for example, I cooperate with G-Drive. The brand helps to develop and improve, shares my values. I am glad that thanks to cooperation with them I met interesting people and visited various sporting events, especially motorsport has become a lot in my life. It is important for me that I myself am a user of what I recommend. Therefore, with G-Drive, everything is organic for me. I refuel at Gazprom gas stations, sometimes I take coffee here or have a snack in a cafe. Never had bad associations with sponsors, everything was always great. When you are just starting to earn money, you think, wow, how much money, I can buy clothes and bags. And to spend everything on yourself without investing in the future, such as the euphoria of big money. Now I approach financial matters very consciously. For example, I want to buy a house already with an eye on the future, in order to ensure a comfortable life for myself. But to my 16-year-old self, I would say, of course, treat yourself. While you are 16, there is money, spend it. Yes, it could be postponed, but there is not so much money there to immediately buy an apartment or a car. So I don't see the point in advising myself, let's stop spending. Let the child have fun. Anything else you can do will make money. But then, when larger sums appear, I, of course, will start saving money and will not spend much on shopping. It's hard for me to think about the future. If at the age of 16 I lived in the moment, now it is even more pronounced. I'll skate the season, after the show, what will happen next I don't want to guess. Everything is too unpredictable. The main thing is that I want to devote part of my life to development, to study something, to complete courses. I feel a lack of education, so I want to catch up. I don't know what it will be, I'm looking, because the most difficult thing is to choose the right direction. So far, there is no fear of life after sports. It seems to me that he appears at the moment when you decide to leave, and then you realize that you have nothing to do. And you ended up in a hole from which you urgently need to get out in order to occupy yourself with something, and you don't know what this is. How apathy appears. It seems to me that you are not afraid of this in advance. But psychologists always help with this. I sometimes work with a psychologist to better understand myself, to understand where to move. There is no need to neglect psychologists. This is always a very good help, not because something is wrong with your head, but in order to better understand yourself. This will help to smoothly survive the moment when you finish one serious business and start another. Right now, the Empress is the mainstay of Russian figure skating. It's no secret that figure skating is a very subjective sport. Judicial loyalty is primarily determined by the components and allowances for jumps. You don't need to look far for examples, just open the protocol of any competition. It is much more interesting to consider this issue from the point of view of the federation's interests. The unspoken support of the figure skaters from the group of Atari Tupperds will not surprise anyone in the crystal. They know how to prepare strong single skaters. It is all the more unusual to watch the progress of Elizaveta Tuktamysheva in the top of Russian figure skating. Frankly, Liza has never been famous for high components. Its trump card has always been the technical part. If we talk about international tournaments, with more or less clean skates in recent years, Tuktamysheva received about 9s and kopecks, while the young skaters of Krystalny moved by leaps and bounds to the maximum 10s. Russian starts, although they are considered more loyal, and in relation to many athletes this is true, but even in them, Elizaveta did not get much more in the second assessment. Everything changed in the fall of 2022. At the stages of the Russian Grand Prix for clean rentals, she was given a generous 940, 950. It is clear that in the case of errors, the indicators decreased, but a positive trend in evaluating the athlete was still noticeable. And in the recent final of the series, Tuktamysheva became the best in the components in the short program. Did the judges suddenly see a talented wheeler in the Empress? The idea is beautiful, but it hardly has anything to do with reality. Probably one of the main conclusions based on the results of the last season is that the Federation clearly believes in Lisa. It would seem, why would they? Tutberidze's conveyor successfully continues its work, victories at the main starts once again left for Krystalny. Everything goes according to plan. In terms of complexity, Tuktamysheva is clearly inferior to her young competitors because the quad toe loop so far remains only in training. Meanwhile, Kamila Valieva has successfully restored her quad toe loop and is actively working on the triple axel, while Adelia Petrosyan and Sofia Akateva are combining triplex and quad jumps. It is quite possible that the Federation wants to be ready for the moment when Russian athletes are allowed to compete in international competitions. Due to missing the whole season, the earned quotas for the European and World Championships burned down, which must be confirmed every year. Now, in case of admission, Russia will be able to declare only one representative in each event. Hypothetically, if the Russians were allowed to the upcoming World Championships in Saitama, it would be most logical to send Liza there. Of course, ardent fans of Crystal will immediately begin to convince. Like, there are Valieva and Petrosyan, who were better than Tuktamysheva for the season, own quads, and clearly deserve this trip more than Tuktamysheva. We do not consider the current champion of Russia Sofia Akateva due to age restrictions. You can't argue with the ISU rules here. Can anyone seriously assume that the FFKKR would risk releasing Kamila? In my opinion, no. Despite the fact that at the moment she is not suspended from the competition, it would be foolish to send her to such an important start. While the cause proceedings are ongoing, Valieva is in limbo. Conditionally, Kamila earns quotas for the country in March, and in the fall she will be disqualified for a couple of years, and the results will be cancelled. Earned places automatically burn out, which means Russia is returning to where we started. This is clearly not the option that we would like for the strongest team. In addition, it is not very clear how the public will react to it. Support? Start whistling? What about other skaters, including those who never got their Olympic medal? Will Kamila be able to withstand the same pressure again as she did at the Beijing Games? There are too many nuances that can affect the goals of the Federation. As for Adelia, there are no less questions. Yes, she actively learns different quads and can take out everyone with technique. Or maybe he can't stand it. We recall the same championship of Russia. She doesn't really have international experience to ironically cope with such responsibility. There is no judicial authority, there is no stability. It is impossible not to take into account that Petrosyan looks even younger than the current juniors, and, alas, everyone has to go through the puberty period. Where is the guarantee that the figure skater will get together and give out the skates of life at a particular tournament? But there is an empress. Tuktamysheva, who turned 26 in December, continues to improve both technically and in terms of presentation. Tuktamysheva, who finally waited for her moment of glory inside Russia. Tuktamysheva, who wins bronze at her 15th national championship. Yes, she is not an example of incredible stability. Eliza still has small blots. But who now in the national team shows perfect skates at every start? What is really important is that it is the Empress who here and now looks like the iron leader of the Russian team, if we discard all sorts of yes, but she does not have a doping trail behind her back, which one way or another will be remembered by Terry Tutberidze and the whole Krystalny. Her coach does not criticize refereeing and does not issue ultimatums to the Federation, but silently works. And what can we say? Elizaveta has European and World Champion titles behind her back, and many years of performances on the international arena. The judges know her. And last but not least, Tuktamysheva is respected in the figure skating world. Foreign fans, although they deliberately ignore Russian tournaments for political reasons, still follow Elizaveta, noting her achievements. After the December bronze at the Russian Championship, even the Canadian Megan Duhamel did not stand aside, and this is already an indicator. Despite the current circumstances, foreign figure skaters are not afraid to openly call Liza an idol. The Japanese Mai Mihara, who won the Grand Prix final in December, spoke especially warmly about Tuktamysheva. "I am a real fan of Tuktamysheva. It is such an honor that such a figure skater is rooting for me. I admire her, she jumps the triple axel so beautifully, and when I saw her quadruple toe loop, I was speechless. She is an example that everything is possible. Mai said in an interview. It is already clear that Russia will definitely not be in Saitama. But the 2023 World Championships is just a provisional example to describe the current reality of women's figure skating in Russia. As soon as the Russians are released into the international arena, the team needs a leader. Now this team captain is Liza, and the federation cannot fail to understand this.